Hey, Sam here from Sugar Spun Run. Today we are making confetti cupcakes. These fun, colorful cupcakes are actually quite easy to make. There's a little technique involved, but watch my video, you will have no problem following this one. Let's get started by preheating our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and grab yourself a large mixing bowl. We're going to start today's recipe by creaming together some butter and some sugar. So we start with just a little bit of butter. This recipe is going to be balanced by using a blend of butter and oil. That way we get a really nice balance of flavor and a nice soft, moist texture. But for now, you just need the butter. So that's 3 tablespoons. I think that's 42 grams. We're also going to add 3/4 cup or 150 grams of granulated sugar. Now, before we get to the oil, we're going to cream these ingredients together until they're light and fluffy. If you have a stand mixer, you can absolutely use that for today's recipe. You would use the paddle attachment, but today I'm just going to be using my mixing bowl and my hand mixer. Let's go ahead and stir these together. You want these ingredients to be lightened and well combined when we're done. It's going to seem like a small amount of butter to the sugar because it really is. Just keep mixing until you have it nicely combined. All right, so let's just take a look at this real quickly. You can see we have a mixture that's like fluffy, a little fuzzy looking. It is, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's kind of what I'm feeling as I'm looking at it. But it is, there are no discernible butter pieces remaining. It is, the ingredients are well incorporated. So let's add our oil now. You need 1/4 cup of oil. Use a neutral cooking oil. I like avocado oil, which is a little bit more golden color, so it'll make my cupcakes a little more gold. Alternatively, you would use canola oil or vegetable oil. And this is 1/4 cup or 60 milliliters. I also like to add my extracts here as well. We're going to be adding a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm sorry, this is 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And I really like to add almond extract to this recipe as well. It adds a really nice, I say this all the time, depth of flavor. It's like my catchphrase. Now, almond extract can be pretty potent. I didn't want a purely almond tasting cupcake. I just wanted a little hint. So we're just adding 1/4 teaspoon of almond. You could bump that up a little bit if you wanted, but I think this adds a really delicate flavor. All right, let's stir everything together again until we have a nice uniform mixture. And I'm just going to pause for a moment, scrape this bowl, make sure everything's nicely combined. And that looks pretty good. Now today's recipe is going to make us 12 cupcakes. You can absolutely double this recipe if you're looking for 24. All right, slide that out of the way and we're going to grab a separate mixing bowl for our dry ingredients. We'll start with 1.5 cups or 172 grams of cake flour. I love cake flour for this recipe. It gives us a more plush crumb, makes for a very soft cupcake. I'll try to remember to put a note in the recipe card if you don't have cake flour, but this is a recipe where I recommend it for best results. Next, we need 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder and just 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. We need a little bit of salt at 1/2 teaspoon of table salt for this recipe. And we will whisk everything together, get that nicely combined. Okay, so let me bring back our butter mixture right here. Keep our dry ingredients handy. And you also are going to need a 1/2 cup of buttermilk. I do recommend real buttermilk instead of my buttermilk substitute. It's like the weirdest quote. Real buttermilk instead of buttermilk substitute. It's just going to give you the best results and the best possible flavor. So we are going to alternate adding the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients to this recipe. We are not going to use our electric mixer anymore. You want to do this by hand because you want to avoid overmixing, which can cause dense, dry cupcakes. Okay, so we start by adding about 1/3 of our dry ingredients. That might have been a little more than 1/3, you get the idea. And we're going to fold this flour mixture into the wet ingredients until it is mostly combined. All right, now we'll add about 1/2 of our buttermilk. Fold this in. Another 1/3 of our dry ingredients. I always like to start and end with the dry ingredients. The rest of our buttermilk. These are already smelling so good. You may have noticed we haven't added any eggs yet. They are coming, or at least part of the eggs are coming. We're not going to use a whole egg in this recipe, but I don't want to get ahead of myself yet. Last bit of dry ingredients, stir this in. This is looking nice and uniform. I'm going to slide this out of the way. We are going to grab a separate mixing bowl. It's like a medium-sized mixing bowl. All right, now we're going to whip some egg whites to stiff peaks. We are not going to be using the yolks for this recipe. So let me go ahead and separate my eggs. Pull these out, we'll need them in a minute. If you've ever whipped egg whites before, if you've made meringues, anything like that, you already know it's very important that the bowl be completely clean, dry, and grease-free. Otherwise, your egg whites may not whip properly. Occasionally, people will ask me if they can use store-bought carton egg whites for this recipe. They're inconsistent. You could try it and maybe have no problem, but you could also try it and have them not whip up properly for you. So that's just something to keep in mind. I do the eggs one at a time. Oh, and if you get any yolk in there, if you cannot remove it, you need to discard it. Do not want any yolk in with your egg whites when you are mixing, or you're gonna have a bad time. Egg number 3. Okay, now these are dirty because I used them for mixing my butter earlier, so I need clean, dry, grease-free beaters. Swap these out. We're going to beat the egg whites until we have stiff peaks. Of course, I will show you what that looks like. Now, I always start with my mixer on low speed and gradually increase to high, rather than just starting on high speed right away. Okay, so I wanted to stop this at a point where you can see that the peaks that form are holding their shape. They are stiff, they're not folding over or dissolving. So we know that these are good and ready to go. Let's also just take a look. If I run my spatula through them, you can see how thick they are. Okay, let's bring back our other ingredients. Add the egg whites right in there. We're not going to add our sprinkles just yet. We are going to start to gently fold the egg whites into the batter. And we do want to be gentle. They're obviously going to deflate some just because how could they not? But we want to be gentle so that we're not over deflating them. We just spent all that time whipping them. And once we have the egg whites about 50% of the way combined, we will add our sprinkles. So for the sprinkles, I recommend like standard sprinkles. These are also called jimmies, or like the quin or sequin style sprinkles. Don't use nonpareils, they tend to bleed through the batter. For standard jimmies like this, you're going to be using, or for any sprinkle, you're going to be using 1/3 cup. For this type of sprinkle, that's about 60 grams. And we'll continue to fold until we have a nice uniform batter where the egg whites are well distributed and the sprinkles are well distributed. We're just being gentle here. I had previously shared a confetti cupcake recipe many years ago, and it was honestly quite delicious, but too many people were starting to have inconsistent results with it, and I don't know what that was about, but I cannot have that on my recipes. So we went back and tweaked a couple things, and I'm very, very happy with where we ended up. All right, this looks good. Don't want to overdo it. So let me grab my cupcake tin. I have lined this with paper liners, and I'm just going to evenly divide the batter into the cupcake tin. It smells so good. And I do have a confetti cake recipe. We'll try to remember to link to that in the description if you're looking to make a cake version. Okay. Looking pretty good. Your oven should be preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit by now, or 175 degrees Celsius. So we're going to take these over and bake them in the center rack of the oven. They typically need to bake for about 17 minutes, maybe 18 minutes. When they're finished baking, a toothpick inserted in the center should come out clean or with a few moist crumbs. Okay, so we are going to let these cupcakes sit in the pan for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then we want to carefully remove the cupcakes from the tin and transfer them to a cooling rack. Be careful because the pan is still a bit hot. So if you've ever had a cupcake and you pulled it out of the tin and it was greasy on the bottom, most likely it was allowed to cool completely in the tin. Now you do want to be careful because these are delicate when they're warm. So run our knife around the edge. Butter knife is great for this. And then just gently pry it up. Be gentle. And these should look nice. They should have nice, slightly rounded domes. They may deflate a bit as they are cooling, just because egg whites do that. They'll kind of shrink in a little bit, but they should not be deflated. Like you can see, we have a nice round muffin top here, cupcake top here. Now it is very important that you let your cupcakes cool completely before you decorate them with icing. You can use any icing you'd like. Today I am using my vanilla frosting. Probably should have made a half batch because that will modestly cover every cupcake, but if you want a generous amount of frosting, make the full batch. This pipes really nicely. Let's go ahead and put a lot on since we made a lot. And of course we'll add a few sprinkles, just a few. And that is how you make these confetti cupcakes. Can't wait for you to try them. Think you're going to absolutely love them. If you try them, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. I don't know how I'm gonna eat this one. I've got to do a little less frosting. That way I look professional, or at least not like a total mess. There we go. Okay, let's try it. These are just the softest cupcakes ever. Such a nice, springy crumb. This might be the perfect cupcake. Colt's one, cleanup crew, cleanup duty. Avocado, I already said that. Now, if you've ever had a cupcake and you pull it out of the tin, oops. Now, if you've ever had a cupcake, oops, making a mess.